everyone, welcome. This is Evan from Team Cold Blooded. All right, so the first challenge we ran into was defining what mapper even is. Our initial requirement was very open-ended. We were supposed to map a code base. We started with a brainstorming session that we spent about 3 hours trying to define what mapper is to each one of the teammates. As you can see, this is the board that we've built. For each one of us, we just define what mapper is and what features it has in 5 post-it notes. But there were some issues. There were some stuff that were duplicates. There were some things were going to take too long, and then there were also some stuff that we felt were more necessary than the other ones. So we had to do some prioritization. We created a vitamin painkiller matrix. So you can see that there exists 4 different squares here. We decide if an item is a vitamin or a painkiller, and vitamin here means it's a nice to have, whereas a painkiller is absolutely necessary feature. And we also identified if a feature is doable in 5 weeks or it's impossible to do in 5 weeks. The next thing you have to define is figuring out who mapper was for. We wanted to figure this out and create user stories so we could get that validated. We grabbed all of the items from the top right corner of the matrix and we asked everyone to come up with user stories. And once everybody created about 5 to 10 user stories, we grouped them together to make sure that we know who we will be building mapper for. Okay, for challenge 3. After this session, we also had to prove to ourselves that mapper is worth building. We had this idea, but this idea has never been materialized into something. So for about a 1 to 2 week period, we spent building out POCs to actually see the vision materialize. So in this slide, we can see the 3 different ideas that we had. We had the browser extension that maps the code base whenever you're browsing a GitHub repo. We have the separate website that you can connect to your repo, and it kind of maps it out. And then we also finally have the VS Code extension. This exercise was very successful because the feedback that we got from the team was, once people saw the extension, the team was excited and wanted to build that out. So we kind of ended up proving to us that mapper is worth building, and that excitement and that alignment led us forward for the remaining 4 weeks. The next challenge was fine-tuning the vision of mapper. Weeks to build this out, and we wanted to make sure that we had adequate items to build, and we also did not overload ourselves. Here is our GitHub board. You can see that we have done prioritization and then put the features into 3 categories. As you can see, we still have items that we haven't finished up in P2, and that's fine, because we decided that those were our stretch items and we were going to get to them if time remained. We were focusing on quality, and as you can see, we've accomplished all of our tasks that were in P0 and P1, and all of them went through QA process and UAT process. The next item was dependency management. This board is nice, but it's also linear. It doesn't capture one ticket relies on another ticket. It's a dependency board with the yarns that's kind of saying, oh, this feature depends on another feature. We probably should have done this from the beginning. We didn't focus too much on the dependencies until about mid-period of this project, where our velocity suffered. We had some features that were waiting on ready development just because its blocker feature wasn't completed by another team. So if we were to do this again next time, we would definitely plan out the dependencies better. And our last challenge was the CI/CD pipeline and the release process. There were 2 separate parts that were challenging: the version bump and the publish and release system. The version bumping was challenging because it required us to think a lot about how do we version this application, what constitutes as a minor bump, what constitutes as a major bump, and how do we automate this process so the dev experience is good. And lastly, we had some struggles with publish and release. So what worked well? Our ADRs and spikes for requirement gathering worked out well. We were able to align the team from the beginning for the task very well. Customer interviews were nice. It also made sure that our assumptions were validated. Our dual track of conversions worked well. Since we were able to produce the POC application, we were able to see the vision, and then the foundation track was able to go towards that vision throughout the 5 weeks. What did not work so well? Like I mentioned, the dependency management, we could have done a better job. So our advice, focus on ADRs and spikes from the beginning, make sure the team is aligned. Create a dependency board, do POC work for MVP determination, don't skip out on the customer interviews, use that to validate your assumptions, and select good teammates. And my final advice is going to be lucky and have a great team. I believe we were really lucky. We had an excellent team. We also had an excellent TA, and that really helped us this quarter. Thank you, everyone.